Following his accident, Bear was confined to local passenger runs. Perhaps a slower pace will remind you to take care, the Fat Controller sternly advised. Yes, sir, sighed Bear solemnly. Cheer up, lad, smiled Donald. At least being missed traffic means you can still work. Imagine being strictly a goods engine. Bear smiled, but from the other corner of the shed, Dudley listened with intent. Strictly a goods engine. Gordon was feeling unwell. He struggled valiantly on, not wanting to disappoint the passengers. However, it was clear he needed maintenance. You poor thing, sympathized Dudley. It's almost admirable to push yourself to such limits. Certainly wouldn't get that from any diesel. I always longed for a chance for an express run of my own. Alas, my class only ever pulled coal trains and other goods. Work is work, mind you, but it would be superb to coast along with coaches. I suppose I'll never get my chance. The other railway certainly wouldn't provide such an opportunity. Lucky you're not on the other railway then, smiled James. Bear and I normally take the express in Gordon's absence, but I'm sure you could have a try. What do you say, Bear? Bear was hoping that a good express run would put him back in the Fat Controller's good graces. However, he feared being painted as a villain if he denied Dudley's wish. I don't see why not, Bear said with a forced smile. I'm sure you'll manage well. Most kind of you to offer, smiled Dudley. I only hope the Fat Controller will agree. Indeed he did. Dudley shared express duties with the others and managed swimmingly. Then the weather changed. The sky turned gloomy and gray. Mercifully, the rain was light, but one morning the yard manager brought worrying news. Heavy rainfall in the forecast today, he advised. A temporary speed restriction will be in place on the main line, so mind yourselves and, where's Dudley? He's gone to the station, sir, said Bear. The express will be leaving soon. Bother, fussed the yard manager. He needs to know about the restriction. Not to worry, smiled Bear. I'm off to collect my local. I'll give him the message. The yard manager tipped his cap in thanks and walked away. Dudley was sizzling happily when Bear rolled up. There's a speed restriction due to the rain, he advised. You'd best. I'll manage just fine, thank you. Excuse me? I was built for fast services. I didn't survive wartime by crawling along, you know. A little rain won't impede my work. This isn't about your work, puffed Bear. It's about the passenger's safety. Yes, well, given your little maneuver the other day, you're hardly qualified to preach about safety. Dudley chortled away, leaving Bear brooding. Wet weather loosens soils on the hillsides along the tracks. This, in turn, creates potential for landslides. Mrs. Kindly had saved Thomas from one many years ago, but the main line wasn't lucky enough to have its own Mrs. Kindly. As such, speed restrictions were enacted to stop engines from crashing into any shifted earth. Dudley didn't care for the speed limit. He thundered along with the express, determined to prove himself. 2 big engines down, he chuckled darkly. Now, to get rid of that pesky diesel. If Dudley hadn't been too busy scheming, he might have heard the rumbling of the hillsides ahead. The heavy rain had worked its magic, and the soil was ready for a mad dash towards the rails. Yikes! Shouted his driver. Dudley broke from his thoughts to see the earth tumbling down the hillside. The hole will never stop in time, he cried. More steam! Now! The driver threw open the regulator. Dudley's side rods blurred, wheels pounded the rails. Come on, come on! He shouted. He flew past just in time. The earth clattered behind the last coach, blocking the line and shaking the rails. They were safe. At the station, the passengers flooded the platform and swarmed around the station master. "Your engine is a hero," they shouted. "He shot off like a cannonball and saved us." "I'll be sure to tell the fat controller," smiled the station master. Dudley smirked, but on his return to the shed, the greeting was far from warm. "Speed restrictions are not optional, Dudley. You may be used to fast work, but that's no excuse to gamble with the lives of our passengers." "Speed restrictions, sir," Dudley replied innocently. "I wasn't aware of such a thing." "Bear told you at the station, did he not?" asked the yard manager. It was most unfortunate that Bear hadn't returned to defend himself. "I'm afraid not, sir," lied Dudley, "though I'm not surprised. He's been ever so jealous since I started taking the express. I certainly hope he wasn't planning sabotage." The fat controller looked gravely at Dudley, then back to the yard manager. "We shall investigate this," he said at last. "As you did save the passengers from disaster, I'll forgive this instance of a violation. However, future restrictions are to be followed. Is that clear?" "Crystal, sir," smiled Dudley. When Bear returned, the sheds were in an uproar. "Why are you so threatened against Dudley?" Gordon demanded. "I never thought you'd stoop this low. Henry said you were different from other diesels, but I suppose you deceived him, too." I didn't," Bear stuttered in disbelief, looking to Dudley to speak the truth. "Such a shame," Dudley said in a low voice. "I certainly hoped you were different." Bear was mortified. He felt helpless and wanted anything more for Henry to return. "Perhaps I don't belong here after all," he sighed, and sadly went to sleep.